Hey, welcome to One More Thing. I'm Pastor Brett Watson. I'm here with Pastor Troy, and we're talking about this past Sunday and the sermon on unity.
Unity.
Yeah.
As Moana as our backdrop.
Yeah, with Moana as the backdrop. Yeah, summer at the movies. Great stuff. Man, the performances. I mean, just little Leighton up there. Just
man.
Unbelievable.
That was awesome, man.
It really was.
Ricardo looked really awesome in that wig too, though, man. He looked like a natural.
He did.
Like a natural. He looked like one of those wrestlers. I said the Roman Reigns, who's the World Wrestling Federation champion.
Yeah.
You know, he's this like Samoan guy, long hair. And when Ricardo jumped on that speaker, I was like, "Oh, he's going off the top rope, baby. Let's go."
He's gonna come down with an elbow. Yeah,
right on Charles Rissler's face. Yeah,
that was so funny at 9 o'clock, man. When you said, "I'm a straight man," I thought he looked hot. You probably didn't hear me, but I said, "Amen."
Well, welcome to Suncoast.
Yeah. So great points. This has been an issue in Christianity. Really, I mean, if we're being honest and scholarly about it, it's really been an issue from day one. You know, Paul was squelching things. That's why he wrote the text that you used in the sermon.
Yeah.
You know, that there were divisions among people who were calling themselves Christ followers.
Right.
So, but today, it's like a different kind of division. It's like a division over sheer speculation, interpretive speculation, right?
Yeah.
There are only a few places where you can look at the teachings of Jesus, for example, or the apostles, and say, okay, we're pretty sure he wants this, period, right?
Yep.
And unity is one of those.
That's right.
So that means that we're willing to divide readily over things that we're really speculating about.
That's right.
It's just interpretations, right? Differences over that we're willing to divide over, but the one of the few things that we can be relatively certain of that Jesus and the apostles wanted and taught about repeatedly is unity.
That's right. They go. Many scholars look at the one unanswered prayer of Jesus.
Yeah,
is Father, let them be one, as you and I are one, and that B word is it's a phenomenological word. It's like let them exist as one, let them awaken to this becoming that they are one, that we're all related, we're all interconnected to everything that is created. And it's a beautiful philosophy, but it gets bogged down with these hot button terms that more conservative theologians and apologists like New Age. It's just New Age stuff. No, man, that's old age stuff. That's what Jesus is teaching, that there's this interconnectedness between all of our souls. And there are ways in which God manifests and expresses himself. Like, we forget that what was going on in first century Palestine, as world changing as that was with the mission of Jesus, China had a burgeoning culture of ethics and civilization and law that was worlds apart. These people had no idea who Jesus was for millennia. And so we forget that, man, God is bigger than the Bible. God is bigger than our own self-determination to box him in with our own sort of preferences that make us feel included and belonged. And so that was the whole point of the sermon, was this notion that diversity, when I look around, just at the diversity of life on this planet, like there are species we still haven't discovered yet.
Oh, yeah,
like
countless.
We're discovering new species of life every day.
And killing many of them as fast as we can.
And then we also know that 99% of all species that have ever lived have gone extinct.
Yeah.
Like, so we're looking at, and this, for me, this is beauty. Like, this is how God expresses himself in the beauty. You think of just the innumerable, incalculable, uncountable amount of galaxies and stars. Like, I love that comedian. I did the bit. I ripped a bit off of him months ago where he goes, everybody, nothing makes sense anymore. When you stop and you think about the reality of reality itself, like the universe, this universe is unfathomable, but yet it's expanding into nothingness. And this nothingness,
as far as we know,
the nothingness is getting bigger. That doesn't make sense.
I know.
How does nothing get bigger?
Yeah.
And so, the sermon was meant to inspire us to set aside those doctrines that divide, those creeds that are used for conquering more than communal building. Like,
exactly.
Let's talk. And when have we lost this ability to dialogue and go, hey man, if you want to hold on to that belief, I'm fine with you holding on to that belief. But here's what you need to know. All beliefs have a history. All beliefs have a history. And if we don't know the past, we're doomed to recreate it or re-represent it, or reinterpret it wrongly again, as we've done with all these particular doctrines of eschatology or end times. The book of Revelation, like so many reels coming out. Oh, this prophecy being fulfilled before my eyes. That's what they were saying in the 40s when Germany was on the rise.
That's what they were saying in every single generation since Revelation was written.
Yep.
Literally. I mean, that's just true.
That's it. And you have to remember, like, that book was not written for you. Mm-mm. That book was written for first century Christians who were under a massive, oppressive dictator to give them comfort. And the symbolism was used for that. Well, what about Jeremiah? Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Well, again, that's not written to individuals. That's written to a nation under a particular captivity to give them comfort that God is with you. God has always been with you. And that metaphor of knowing me in the womb has given rise to misinterpretation for all kinds of things. And so what does not create unity is going to create division. And Jesus says, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And he's saying that because he's casting out demons, and they say, you cast out Satan under the name of Satan. And he's like, you freaking idiots. That's like people saying, you preach a different kind of Jesus here at Suncoast. No, I preach the authentic Jesus, the Jesus that I know to be true, the Jesus who is grounded and founded on love for the same dudes who nailed him to that cross. Tell me, is that a part of your Christian walk? That type of forgiveness, that type of perseverance, that type of what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, right? The overman. That obstacles are not to be removed, they're to be overcome. And we want things moved out of the way, right? That's the convenient culture we're in, man. But I'm rambling again. I'm preaching a little bit.
Oh, that's good.
Unity matters the most. If there's one sermon in all this series that I think is the most important, it was that one. So
yeah, no, I agree, man. The imagine what the church, the whole church, what it could do if it would stop dividing over dogma.
Yeah.
And just agreed to disagree with that stuff, okay? But unified in terms of taking care of the needs of the world. Talk about incalculable.
Yeah.
The resources that would unleash on the problems that humanity faces would be just remarkable, right?
Oh, it's unreal.
But it's like, you can't, when I got here in 2016, one of the first things I remembered was a ministry partner coming in and asking to see Larry. And the ministry, the head of that ministry came in with a pastor, local pastor here. And they went off into the conference room. Susan went to, and they're talking in there and come to find out, they wanted Larry to sign off on a statement of beliefs in order to keep partnering with them in ministry. Now that's absurd enough, right? But understand that we had people that were volunteering for them and what they did to help people, and we were giving them money. Okay, so you can't take my money, you can't take our money, rather, and you can't take our help because we won't sign off on what you believe?
Yeah.
It's just absurd.
Yeah.
And this is the problem that disunity really presents.
That's a great example, man. I've heard that story. Larry and I have talked about that story because this is a Christian organization that refused to take volunteers from us, that refused to take financial resources from us because we would not sign a statement of faith that was centered on a particular kind of conservative, fundamental Christianity.
Yeah.
So I remember Larry asking, "Well, what if I were a Jewish synagogue?"
That's right.
What if I were a Jewish synagogue? You have synagogues who help and volunteer and give money, and you take theirs, and they don't agree with this. And he's like, "But they're not claiming to be Christian."
Right.
And that's the thing is, well, we are Christian. And we interpret the Bible a little bit differently than how you have dictated it and demanded of us. Yeah. But yet we still teach love God, love your neighbor, right? And so all that to say, man, you're absolutely right. That's a perfect example of how division not only divides, but
it hurts people.
It hurts people who needed that organization's resources from us too. So
yeah, it's just absurd.
It's crazy,
completely absurd. So anyway, I agree with you. This is a super important topic, and I'm so glad that you talked about it. I thought you did a nice job not demonizing differences. Yeah. Talking about different traditions, and how worship is expressed, in a public setting and all that. Yeah, of course there's going to be differences there, but we don't have to exclude each other from the work of the gospel because of those differences.
That's right.
Those preferences, really. They're just, there's no list of do's and don'ts that Jesus gave.
That's right.
There's no list of doctrine that you must sign off on that Jesus gave. He just didn't do that. Neither did the apostles.
Yeah.
And so where does this come from? If not from the human, call it what you want, the flesh side of us that just is tribal.
Yep.
And it's me, my four, and no more, whatever.
That's right.
That's just something that we're called to transcend.
That's it.
If we're Christ followers.
You have to, man. You have to.
Yeah. So kudos. Great job.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you.